Hello peoples, it's Dan64 here and welcome back to the Blocktales No Action Command Challenge. We're finally doing Demo 5 after like 10 months. I know, crazy right? The rules of this challenge should be familiar to you if you watched these videos before. I am not allowed to use any action command under any circumstance. If so, then I must reload my save file before I use the action command. I'm also not allowed to have any human partners unless it's an NPC for obvious reasons, since they could just do the action commands for me. If you want to see the full rule set, check the description in this video. With that out of the way, let us begin! It's increasingly obvious that every normal battle is going to get more and more tougher the further we get into the chapters of this game. Not only do the enemies have more annoying attacks that apply status effects, but they also have more HP and are just more of a pain to deal with. Unless you got a summon like Cruel King, which just obliterates them into oblivion. Anyways, I eventually reached this tower with this magnificent person in it, but he challenges us to a battle in order to attain a paintball for some reason, so we have to fight him. The most annoying part about this battle is that he can summon his eye minions and they do a ton of damage and pierce through defense, and it hits both you and your allies, so you definitely want to use freeze ball on them to get rid of them quickly. Not only that, but the Magnificent can still hit pretty hard even with charge defense active. Good thing Item Plus still isn't nerfed. Other than that, there's nothing of note in this battle other than his final attack, which is a huge broad of sword slices which cut you up into... Oh. Bro ate a mistake item for real. Eventually, we reach Trinity, the main hub of this chapter, where we meet the princess, Princess Cassie, who's going to be very helpful soon. But before she can join our party, we have to sit through her coronation. But unfortunately, it gets interrupted by these goobers who want the win for us because they're probably evil. And in a rush to defeat them, Cassie loses the Bigrin sword and gives it to us, which we finally get another sword upgrade. So finally we could actually deal some decent damage to these goobers. In which I did, with Cruel King. That battle wasn't much of a struggle at all. Anyways, we finally have Cassie in our party, but she is unique among the summons that you can get, because she will not attack any Trinity enemies in this area whatsoever, and they won't attack her either, which is kind of interesting on a gameplay mechanic. But you know what sucks? They don't attack Cassie, they attack your face. Sure, Cassie can give you helpful buffs when you need it, but since she isn't an HP sponge like any other partner, it's kind of lackluster in a way. And one more thing to note, if you use Feel Fine on turn 1 and if any enemies have a shrink item or a freeze item, they'll uselessly use it against you like the dummies that they are, which pretty much give you a free turn. So feel free to abuse this while you can. However, at times, Cassie does prove herself useful because she healed me from mortal damage, so that prevented a death, which I'm very grateful for. We also earn a couple of level ups as we go to Reginald, which we're gonna need for him, because he is one heck of a problem. Like the Trinity enemies, Reginald will not attack Cassie and will instead always attack you. So that's definitely a problem since, you know, we can't use action commands. Not only does his axe attacks hit pretty hard, you can also summon allies that also attack you and not Cassie, which is very annoying. Even with a lot of items and the item plus card and a medkit for a revive, I still died here because Cassie doesn't take up damage for you whatsoever. So, RIP. It's a good thing we can replace Cassie altogether. Yeah, for whatever reason, they changed this mechanic where if you try to summon another character while there's already one on the field, they die instantly and get replaced. So we can just replace her with Cruel King, who can actually damage Reginald and get damaged by Reginald, making this battle quite a bit easier. It's still no cakewalk, mind you, but with a little bit of thinking power, you can easily beat them. Up next is the Splintered Skies area of the chapter, and this has the same problems as the first area, where Cassie will not attack any enemies that are related to Trinity in any way. The one thing to take note is that you do not want to hurt this cloudy guy. He actually helps you out and heals you as well as giving you the Feel Fine status effect. I mean, just look at him. He's just a little goober guy. He's a little bit silly. Why would you kill him? You're evil if you do that. He's just enjoying his life. Unfortunately, in the Astral Isles, the enemies have gone super hard, so I definitely died here once because of the stupid wizards. Not only their frog attack and fire attack can team hit, but they can also burn you and turn you into a frog. Good thing we can just replace Cassie in literally any battle with Cruel King to make life easier. But don't worry, if you encounter an enemy, you can use the tried and true method of being a coward and running away. Always works. Anyways, we eventually reach a shop which has the best healing items so far that we can actually buy that isn't too expensive. So I stocked up on some stuff before facing the next boss fight. And oh boy is this boss fight very fearful for me. It's against the Trinity Council. However, they're all together, aligned as one. Their powers combined. Can we really stop them without action commands? Well, the thing that makes this difficult is that Cassie ran away somewhere, though we could just use Summon Cruel King. But don't be so hasty on summoning him so quickly. Azuri does her best hatred impression and uses Azuri Blast, which pretty much deals 80 points of damage, so yeah. You definitely need to use the Ghost Potion. Unfortunately, you still get stunned for a turn after the fact, so they can just wail on you with their team attacks, which hit pretty hard, even with charged defense. I was just barely able to outlive their attacks in order to summon Cruel King and then use an item to not die. And Rober has an annoying move which pretty much grants them all a force field, and then you have to attack them again to remove that force field. Good thing Cruel King can hit them all at once to undo this effect, but it's still quite annoying. And since their team attacks still hit quite hard, even with Cruel King, he'll eventually die, or live if you use an item on him, but you still have the risk of dying. So when Azuri charges up her move again, you pretty much need to use the Ghost Walker here in order to do enough damage. I was somehow able to do this boss fight on the first try, however, this boss fight was the one I wasn't truly worried about. After carefully planning my deck of cards and my items, I went into the Windwalker chamber to meet the dragon. Yeah, apparently it's a dragon from Elden Ring, believe it or not. Yeah, Frostmaw it's called. Pretty much all of its moves can give you a status effect, so you pretty much have to use Feel Fine and Charge Defense if you want to have any hope of living here. Also, I equipped 2 plus defenses, increasing my defense by permanently by +2, though it costs a lot of BP to use that, so I didn't have too much abilities. Good thing Cassie is overpowered with the Windwalker. You can take out the groups of enemies that the dragon summons and deal damage to the shield and actual damage to the dragon. Yeah, unlike any other enemy in the game, this dragon has a shield. But if you get a status effect, even once, it can really ruin the run here for you. Not only that, but the dragons can still team attack you as well, so watch out for that. Not to mention the dragon's bite attack does 18 whole damage without charge defense. So yeah, you definitely need to apply that to Cassie, because if she dies, you automatically get a game over. Unfortunately, even with a medkit and barely surviving with the ice dagger, the dragon eventually finished me off, so there goes that run. Other runs of this boss did not go smoothly because either I didn't do enough damage to it, or Cassie died. I died from lack of items because I gave them all to Cassie. So yeah. I even equipped the Defender card to increase my defense again and be a supportive Titan. Just use the charge attack on Cassie. It's getting so close to the finish line. I just need a bit more. I just had to get lucky with the status effects at the end of the day, just like Hatred was. But eventually, I got the run. But it was still too close for comfort, because if that dragon had one more attack, we would have been dead for sure. Though just barely, we were actually able to finish off Frostmaw and prove that it's actually possible to beat Blocktales Demo 5 without action commands. I really didn't think that would be possible since, you know, it's a literal dragon, but with the use of like literally every card to help us advantage against it, we were somehow able to win. After a long battle, we finally get the Wind Force from Cassie. Thank you. Anyways, see ya next time when Demo 6 comes out. Whenever that happens.